Here's John Doyle explaining to his Nazi audience why this is their last shot at taking power.
I'll tell you, the DMs have been flooded recently. The question on everybody's mind, John, how am I supposed to have a proper white boy summer knowing the emperor sits in chains? It's an excellent question, really. So I'm here to tell you everything is fine. No need to panic, but of course everyone's panicking.
Doyle's a Nazi? Oh, yeah. Like, 1,000%. Yeah.
You know, what's going on? Is Trump a Zionist? What are we going to do? Is the second Trump administration even worth supporting? Is it even going to be effective? Is it over? What's the plan? Do I trust it? Why are so many people coming out against Trump? What do I always say? I will feed you, baby birds. You will know everything ever that is important to know. But before that, briefly, I want to illustrate why this election legitimately is our last.
This guy is like incel Nick Fuentes, which you might think Nick Fuentes is an incel. No, he's not an incel. He's just gay.
Patriot shot here. We need to understand the stakes. And I know that every election, you know,
Charlie,
it's the one that really matters. Let me just throw a bunch of information at you really quick
like
so that you can understand why this is actually our last chance. There's a very real window of opportunity we have to work with here. You may not like it, but this is nonetheless true. We are losing 2.5 million baby boomers every year. They're dying off, God bless them. And we really hate the boomers. I get it, okay?
Yeah, this is another thing that I probably should have mentioned last stream when people were asking, like, hey, what's up with this being conservatives' last chance at taking power? I should have mentioned this, but yeah, old people die. I know this might be news to some folks. Call your grandmothers, all right? But old people die, and they tend to vote conservative. And they are all, you know, dying as time passes. And that's going to shape how the demographics turn out for the election. So I'm just saying, call your grandmother. She misses you. And also, this is why Republicans are really, really, really screwed in the short term.
Regardless, these are our most reliable voters and donors, generally speaking. Another important fact is that the Democrats have not won the majority of the white vote since Lyndon Johnson in 1964, and despite decades and decades of outreach and hundreds of millions of dollars spent trying to figure out how to get non-white people to vote for a party that seeks to conserve a country and a culture that was built by Anglo-Saxons, it hasn't been very successful.
Again, keep in mind here, anytime someone starts talking about how America was built by the Anglo-Saxons, there should be a little alarm bell in the back of your brain that starts ringing, because and that alarm bell is your Nazi radar, actually. It is an excellent indicator that the person you're talking to is, like, beyond just being, like, a white supremacist. They've gone beyond that to create their own imagined super race, the Anglo-Saxons. Now, of course, the Anglo-Saxons that is an actual ethnicity. But when people like John Doyle talk about the Anglo-Saxons, all right, they're talking about their Nazism. That's like their thing. That's what it means, okay?
Especially with immigrants, 90% of which are supporting Democrats, illegal aliens, 95% of which support Democrats. Why would they vote to conserve something that is alien to them? Good question. Why would they not instead just vote for free stuff, which is paid for by the tax dollars of the Republican voter? Another good question. So unsurprisingly, 85% of all votes cast for Republicans in 2022 were cast by white voters. In 2018, it was 88%, and when Trump won in 2016, it was 88%. This, of course, does not mean that you can't be a conservative if you aren't white. It was 88%. This, of course, does mean it was 88%, and when Trump won in 2016, it was 88%. This, of course, does not mean that you can't be a conservative if you aren't white. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that if 85% of...
I think he just corrected... He, like, said something wrong and then corrected it, but in, like, the weirdest way possible. And, also, just gonna throw out there, 88 is also a Nazi dog whistle. So, you know, did he say it on purpose or did he say it on accident? I don't know. All I know is that John Doyle is a Nazi, okay?
my clients were consistently from Group A, and Group A is still a majority of the market, I probably would not want to neglect Group A. You know, when I asked ChatGPT even what it would do in this situation, it gave me a very racist answer, which I do not condone. But the point is that the vast majority of these 2.5 million baby boomers that we're losing each year are white. So the country is becoming less white. Younger generations are, by majority, non-white. And I'm not weird for pointing this out, by the way. What's weird is that this is
What's weird is that you are always concerned about the demographics of America, specifically, you know, with what Ann Coulter refers to as the browning of America. And this guy adores Ann Coulter, except for one flaw. And that is that, of course, Ann Coulter is a woman. She's got lady parts, and that's scary.
decision that has been made and executed as a matter of policy for decades. Like, that's the weird part, in my opinion. What other countries does that happen to except other Western countries? But yeah, so year by year, we are getting fewer people who tend to support our ideas and more people who tend to not support our ideas. And we seem to be implicitly aware of this, even if we struggle to articulate it, since the issue that has defined the last 10 years of American politics has been the border. Us and them. There are fewer of us each year, and there are more of them each year. Even in 2016, Trump only won because of like 80,000 votes between 3 states. And if you think it's just a matter of having the best idea as well, think back to those outreach efforts that we just mentioned. They haven't worked very well. And it's not like we have any institutional power to change the minds of these people, even assuming that's possible, which it probably isn't, frankly. And so as the country has become more diverse, you don't see landslide elections like you did in the 1970s and in the 1980s. And actually, if you look at the trends, the popular margins by which the winners are winning, and even the electoral college votes they receive, it's decreasing as time passes. Likewise, in every election since 1960, when Republicans win, the trend line shows that we're winning by smaller margins, both in terms of the popular vote and the electoral college. So while right now we've got a pretty good chance of, going into 2024 winning, I'm not saying it's over. I'm simply saying we have a short window of time to work with here, and nobody else is really talking about this. Like, just imagine what happens if Democrats get back in 2024. You got Biden in for 4 years. In 2020, you get a solid 4 years of just letting these people pour into the country. 2025 rolls around, you're back in office. You make it a priority to give them amnesty. At that point, it's over. It's done. The Republican Party is obsolete. We now have a leftist party and like a leftist light party, like every third world country. Well, that's what we already have. Okay, I get that. Trust me. You have no idea how bad things could get, though. You would be begging for the chance to vote for like fucking Mitt Romney again. We will have millions and millions and millions of new voters. And just in terms of legal immigration, something like 3.5 million people, adults of voting age, have been naturalized since the 2020 election, according to UC San Diego or something like that. I don't know. I read it online. But a third of those people are coming from Asia and then North and Central America, and then like 11% from Africa. So what that means is Indians, Chinese, Latin Americans, Somalians. Great. Yeah, I'd buy that for $1. You know what that looks like in a long enough timeline? You look at the countries of origin and you say, okay, if I keep bringing in people from this country, sooner or later, law of averages is going to kick in. My country is going to start to look more like their country. And that is exactly what has happened. You go into these areas and it's not white picket fences and
Yeah, again, this is the talking point of white supremacists. Like, when Ann Coulter talked about the browning of America being, like, this horrible, evil thing, like, she was basically talking about race mixing. And he's essentially talking about the same thing, like, except he's taking it a step further. He's talking about, like, cultural mixing, It's not enough to him, it's not enough that race mixing is bad, but even just cultures existing adjacent to each other is bad. Like the very concept of multiculturalism is evil. And frankly, it's not hard to see where this rhetoric roots itself, right? Like, the Republican Party will flat out say this. They will talk about multiculturalism because it does sound better than, we just hate, like, Asian people and black people living in proximity with each other. Like, that doesn't sound very good. It makes them seem kind of racist, So they like having a term, a euphemism, if you will.
an apple pie. It looks like not America. And the problem with that is that America is pretty cool, right? Built by and for Americans. So insofar as you want to change that or you support changing that, then you are an enemy to the American people and you will be going back. So we have to understand that what we understand to be American culture is something that comes very naturally to us because it is natural to us. You don't have to be taught it. It couldn't be taught. It sprouted from, as John Jay wrote in the Federalist Papers.
Because this guy is also just kind of against the concept of learning. You know, you'll notice this through line that he's very anti-intellectual. You know, it's almost like it's a key component of his ideology or something.
You know, we hear so much about the Federalist Papers when it's about like ceding our birthright to gay race communists, but we seem to forget when John Jay wrote that Providence has been pleased to give this one connected country to one united people, a people descended from the same ancestors, speaking the same language, professing the same religion, attached to the same principles of government, very similar in their manners and customs. So true, John Jay. That's a great point. You know, I picked it up and I read it and I said, that's a great point. You wouldn't even believe the point. It's so great. Providence being key there. We will come back to that God wills the success of the American nation. But yeah, when someone has something like that of their own.
Yeah, you know, I'm just throwing out there that maybe people with delusions of, you know, having spoken with God shouldn't be listened to as far as their political opinions go. You know, I think that, like, when you are making appeals to, well, God thinks we're the best country, like, maybe our policies should be a little bit more evident than having to hear you say that God wants us to succeed. You know, like, maybe our country should just have good policies that we want to succeed. You know, like, I making this appeal to, like, God, I think, in this way is very bad. I think it is bad because again, it is anti-empiricist. It is part of the reason why their ideology like roots itself in kind of this esoteric spirituality. You know, it's why Nazis do that. It's why you get, like, the appropriation of, like, Norse and Buddhist symbols. And you know, I keep wanting to say Tim Pool. John Doyle is keeping that spirit alive, you know?
It's kind of ridiculous, actually, to think that they could simply learn your culture and assimilate to that, like how you would learn
Yeah, you
a new
can't learn a
dance or
culture.
something. And then they won't even learn your language.
God, babies are born with culture, stupid. They don't have to learn it. Like, listen to how asinine this guy's comments are. You know, like, it far be it from me to say it doesn't take book learning to understand what he's trying to say here. It just takes a real sap, you know? A real dipshit. This is the young man Tim Pool wishes he could be. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? Nah, Tim Pool doesn't want to be this guy. Tim Pool absolutely has no interest in being this guy. A guy with, like, a fraction of his audience, who's basically a sad incel loner. Tim Pool loves being Tim Pool. A sad incel loner with lots and lots and lots and lots of money. Like, yeah, he's not gonna downgrade here.
Language. Not to mention, these people are all like incredibly low IQ, so they can't really keep track of all these different variables, which would kind of coalesce into what we understand to be a culture, American culture, or even develop an appreciation of it. Hey, show me where I'm wrong, by the way, and I will shut up. The point of all this being the stakes are high. They're as high as they've ever been.
I wish that
they would
were
not
true.
be putting in the effort that they are to stop Trump if this weren't the case. They seem to know something that we don't. You know, you've already got red states going purple, purple states being solidified as blue. Remember California? Solid.
It's not that we know something you don't. It's just that, like, hey, young people don't like your bigoted ideology. Like, it's not rocket science. It's just that you're unpopular and weird and deeply off-putting. You know, like, this isn't hard to understand. People just don't like you. You know, because you're gross.
Solid red state twice went for Richard Nixon and Ronald Reagan, but then after Reagan's amnesty in 86, it's been a solid blue state. The peak of Western civilization, reduced to favelas and feces in just a few decades. Texas, too. Texas is going purple. Can we afford that? Can we afford to lose 40 reliable electoral votes? Can we afford to lose even a quarter of that? That's the future. That is what is at stake here. Amnesty for tens of millions of people for their children. We're legally importing millions of these people each year anyway, not to mention the tens of millions illegally, the children that they have, which you pay for. We're funding all these nonpartisan voter outreach and registration programs. We're always entertaining some pathway to citizenship for these people. Foreign conscripts on the horizon. You know, you give these people military training and citizenship. That'll end well for patriots as it has historically. I mean, we've already purged a lot of the patriots from the military with the mandatory shot and all the woke stuff, but they can't do this before 2024 because they don't have the political...
Yeah, that's right. Not only is he a Nazi, he's also an anti-vaxxer. Like, dude's batting 100. You purged all the patriots from the military by getting them vaccinated, man. I think we purged a few more patriots from the military, you know, by them choosing not to get vaccinated. You know, by them having your ideology. You know, the kind of ideology that is a death cult, which is why these people happily like marched to their own demise in the face of a global pandemic that killed millions.
Capital to do so. But what happens when they buy themselves another 4 years? Then all of a sudden, all the people who could meaningfully oppose this stuff, well, now they're no longer politically relevant. You must understand, they have moved pieces into place that, if given the opportunity to execute upon, are going to be an absolute disaster for us. I mean, they could set us back decades in a matter of an afternoon with a few pen strokes. Why would they not do that, by the way? You think they aren't aware of that possibility? We understand it, but they don't. You think they haven't been allowing for this exactly to happen, encouraging that exactly this should happen so that they can do... I mean, that's like literally the plan. That would be total victory for them. That's what is at stake here. We don't have 4 more years to work with. Things are going to be extraordinarily more difficult if that ends up being the case. Reversing an amnesty, I mean, that's the whole point of this conviction. You know, the regime, one of the many anti-Trump ops being designed to kneecap his campaign, make it more difficult for him to get into office. With the conviction itself, the details don't really matter. We're sort of beyond that. You know, we're well past that part. If it didn't matter to the actual procedure, then I'm certainly not going to bore you, much less myself, with the details. Like, when I supported Trump almost 10 years ago, I did so knowing that someday I may have to defend him for gunning someone down on Fifth Avenue. And so until we hit that ceiling, I don't really have any interest in business documents being mishandled or whatever. You know, he's been found guilty on 34 counts of being a great American patriot. Okay, so now the freaking Democrats want him to die in a jail cell. And everyone, you know...
Yeah, I think it's bad to defraud the government. Like, you notice how, like, this point of his is very easy to, like, just kind of bat aside. Like, yeah, I think when you do a felony, you shouldn't be able to be president. I think when you do a felony 34 times to defraud the government that you want to work for, you probably shouldn't be able to be president. Also, unrelated, I just realized that these weird flesh piles in Elden Ring, I just realized how they fit into the lore, and it's really cool. Frankly, if you do if you do a misdemeanor 34 times, you tend to be given a felony. That is true. That does tend to be the case.
The average GOP voter, they all know the score here.
Give us a detailed explanation, please. Okay, so let's just briefly go over kind of like how the Elden Ring universe works, all right? So, in a cosmological sense, there is, or was, one deity called the One Great, okay, at the very beginning of time. And the One Great wound up fracturing and turning into multitudes. And that from that arose life. Basically, the whole being broke apart, forming all life. And I'm very much simplifying here, but basically, what the Horn sent, and I guess spoilers if you care about the lore of the Shadow of the Erdtree DLC. The Horn sent basically from the DLC. They're another civilization in the DLC. They're one of the first original civilizations, and they were like, "Hey, we figured out that every living creature has a spark of divinity inside of them, right? And because we have realized that, we are now going to try and fuse things together. Because, as we can tell from our horns, like, basically, to clarify this a bit further, when life fractured into multitudes, creatures were all kind of blended together. So you got like lions with wings, you got a bunch of creatures with horns that shouldn't have horns usually, you know, and that hence the name the Horn Scent, right? But what ended up happening is that the Horn Scent realized, oh hey, we are some kind of form of blended life, and by extension, we can blend life artificially. And so they began blending already alive creatures together in great ritualistic jars. All right? And certain beings and creatures were better at being blended than others. They took to it more readily. And one of those being the race of people, the Newman, or in other words, at the time they were called the Shaman. And that is the you know, ethnicity or race of people that the god of modern-day Elden Ring descends from. That's a lot of words to explain a weird little congealed blob, but basically, in this universe, the Horn Scent were trying to combine more and more creatures because they recognized that the more life was created, the weaker divinity itself became. And if they were able to gather enough creatures and blend enough creatures together, they would be able to effectively create a god, like a kind of artificial deity. Yes, a will it blend type experiment. And so they began artificially blending all kinds of creatures with the express goal of kind of binding not just their society together, but the wider world and universe together. And they, in a way, they kind of succeeded. And I don't know, I find that very interesting. And what I mean by these blood clots, I believe that's what they're called in the game. These little moving, like, bundles of flesh and bone. They're essentially these... They're essentially a natural version of what the Horn Scent were doing. They're blended together remains of people, i.e. blended together and given some spark of life, you know? So, in a way, they're kind of like the a more natural, more horrifying version of what the Horn Scent were doing. Yeah, basically Olive Rider, yeah. Where's the horse gone? The horse is a spirit horse, so it's not... It's able to appear and disappear at will. Also, it's not a horse, it's a bicorn. Okay. So, alchemical runoffs. It's a bit worse than that. It's not alchemical runoff. It's like the spark of life that animates you and your mind being blended together with others, and whatever dregs of that spark are left after you die, combining with all of the other dregs to form like an animated clump of flesh, essentially. Hey, Ms. Drizzlin. But yes, the god of Elden Ring was made in a blender, and I can kind of understand her being pretty upset.
But you're allowed to be a Republican and get people to clap for
Anyway, back to this clump of flesh.
tax cuts and the estate tax reform, whatever. You're not allowed to get like single-handedly realign the party to make people basically allergic.
Lore clarifying question. So does this property of blending why there's grafting going on? Yes, actually. Grafting is like a more refined version of the blending that the Horn Scent was doing. We're doing, right? And America reinstated the process of creating these ritual jars for blending, except it seems that rather than blend already living creatures together in these ritual jars, they blended together the remains of great warriors, and that's why you have the warrior jars. So they're like the dead heroes of old all blended together to make fan favorite character Alexander. You know, if you blend enough of them together, they gain sentience. Like it's kind of creepy, right? Like I love how weird the lore of this game is. How did your driver's license picture turn out? The lady at the DMV was really rude to me and told me that though there were signs saying they accepted walk-in appointments, they had stopped accepting walk-in appointments 5 hours before I got there, and I would have to come back again on Monday because they're closed over the weekend. And I felt like a big old dummy. She was very rude about it. It's rough knowing that you're a deity smoothie. Well, like, Marika got especially fucked over, because, like, not only is she, like, a deity smoothie, like, personally, you know, undergoing the torture that is, like, entering a ritual jar and being blended together. Like, not only that, but, like, her entire people were hunted to extinction and genocided because their flesh has the property of being able to be blended together better than any other type of humanoid flesh. It's pretty fucked up. Pretty fucked up. Yeah, I should have stuck my finger on her collarbone and been like, "You're doing this to me because I'm trans. Excuse me. I have pronouns she, her." And then I would have gotten internet famous. Kind of makes sense. It continues the themes of taking power from your foes to gain power from them. Yeah, like, I think it's a great synthesis of ideas from these games. Looking really beautiful. Thank you, Lagala Deville. You still don't like Elden Ring despite playing it? Don't get Elden Ring? It's the word you're going for. Finally started listening to Chapel Rowan actively. I have to let you guys know I have no idea who Chapel Rowan is outside of like she looks like she has like a lot of fun with like makeup and clothes, and I like that about her and for her. And the only other thing I know about her is that there's an excellent mashup of one of her songs and Fleetwood Mac that absolutely slaps, and I wish I could play it for all you guys. Yeah, I lack a larval tier to change my build from the one that I used to take down the final boss of the DLC, which is too bad. But you know what? It's not bad. It's not actively a bad build. It's just irritating. Hey, 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 hey. Ow. Excuse you, sir. We were having a moment. Hey, hey. Hey, hey. What? There we go. Oh, you don't get it? Which part do you find confusing? Maybe I can clear something up for you. I really like talking about the lore of video games and things that are my special interest at the moment. Also, if you guys are interested in learning more about the lore of like Elden Ring in particular, there's an amazing channel called Tarnished Archaeologist that like literally zooms in. It's run by a real world archaeologist, right? And he zooms in and like examines like the architecture and carving reliefs of the game, and like interprets the history of the game as an archaeologist would. It's really, really fun because he comes up with some really great ideas. That is cool. I think it's cool. Oh God. All right. You can watch one of his videos at some time as a palate cleanser. That's an excellent idea. I would love that. He just put out a new one today about DLC stuff, and I don't know if people want like DLC spoilerinos on that level, but like it's really, really fascinating. He like resurrected an entire like culture from this game that's kind of hidden in like the architecture and assets. Hey, Holly Hoomst. Yeah, OS Crane, like, I feel like, honestly, having played Armored Core 6, I feel like that was their palate cleanser. That was their moment to be like, okay, we're just gonna make a game and not spend a quadrillion hours figuring out the lore and making sure all of the assets are lore compliant, okay? We're just gonna make a game about cool giant robots killing each other on a socialist planet. That's Armored Core 6 in a nutshell. These discussions and that kind of fan engagement is what I love about FromSoft games. Yeah, like it's one of the most fun parts about From Software games, you know? Like, I love the communal aspect of the storytelling in these games, and I feel like the intention FromSoft had for people to kind of come to their games and deconstruct the lore in this way is really only now being kind of fully realized. Like, it's such a wonderfully fun activity. Get in the robot, Sinji. My OC. Do not copy. Wholly original. Yo, last time I had to do stuff with my license, a cop was working at the DMV. It was very disconcerting. I didn't like it. I feel you, Kiwi Bird. Good luck, my rear end. Good luck defending democracy. Think they should probably sunset the Soul style game. Elden Ring's lore is intoxicating, but you want to know one of the cool things, and what I've found by getting like deep into fiction and like sci-fi books and novels and stuff, you can always go weirder. You know, you can always go in a completely different direction, and I can't wait to see what they come up with next. Because they strike me as the kind of company that hires a lot of people who have a lot of big ideas and dreams. And I really like that. Is it normal for police to work at the DMV? I don't know about normal per se, but like, police do tend to fill in municipal jobs on a local level sometimes. You know. Beep boop. All right. Hello, Dominula, a totally normal village. Hi there. Are you nice? Oh God, they're not nice. You know, I'm starting to think they're not very welcoming around here. Here, let's just grab this item. This will help us. Did I miss a Project 2025 lesson? No, I got sidetracked from John Doyle. So, time to go back into the content mines.
To everyone who is not likewise aligned with your vision, and get hundreds of thousands of people to drive hours to your rallies, scream that they love you, fly your name in their front yard as a...
Okay, honest question, because I don't know the answer. Has Donald Trump ever had a rally that hit 100,000 people? Because I keep hearing like him mention like hundreds of thousands strong rallies. I keep hearing conservative politicians say it, and I don't think that that's true. I'm starting to think that they're lying.
As a symbol of an American identity that is independent from the American state's betrayal of its own people. That is what you are not allowed to do.
Even
That's why Bill Clinton, George
right?
Bush, Barack Obama, these guys are all freaking war criminals or whatever. Bush was literally Hitler, but now they're all hanging out together. They all get to retire in luxury because they played the game. They did what they were supposed to do. At this stage, you're only prosecuted for like crimes against the regime, basically, which is why Donald Trump is being prosecuted. Had Donald Trump not declared war on the regime, he would never have been prosecuted. Bill Clinton, for example, famously like paid a woman almost $1 million to drop her sexual assault case against him. But because Donald Trump allegedly paid a woman to not run her mouth about consensual sex, which she also signed a document saying never even happened. This is some like impropriety, as if that would have actually influenced the election. Like American voters didn't kind of have an expectation of what we were getting ourselves into when we decided to elect a billionaire TV star playboy who owns a supermodel pageant like as our president. Not even to mention all the other things.
Wait, didn't he only own Miss Teen USA? Did Donald Trump own another pageant? Or did he own Miss USA? Has he ever heard of E. Jean Carroll? If John Doyle has ever heard of E. Jean Carroll, I guarantee you he thinks it's good and based that Trump did what he did.
That the other side has done that are
Because
far
he's
worse.
evil.
And I don't want to call out the hypocrisy because that really only matters if we're in a position to do something about it besides just bitch. So until that happens, you may as well just write it all down, keep notes. but we will need it later. What is that like? This will help us in our journey later, whatever. And that's why locking them up, though, is very important, which Trump even acknowledged recently. He was naive to not do that because they're going to come after you anyway. It's not a matter of the precedent or the pendulum. Oh, what if this comes back to get me? When you're in a fight, you don't base your behavior based on what someone else may do or may not do. You do what you have to do to win the fight. And giving them the benefit of the doubt after they openly talk about doing it to you anyway, are you like a stupid person? And the even bigger problem is that they're actually the criminals and we're actually not. So it's not even that you care about.
Is that true? Because your guy's currently convicted of 34 felonies. So, like, I don't think that's true, actually.
The rule of law, you're just a coward because we're actually totally innocent and they're the bad guys. And you got to go after the leadership. That's what their organizing is, because otherwise they're just going to retreat, they're going to reinforce, and they're going to come right back after you. These people are not driven by principle or really even ideology. It's just purely resentment against you specifically. They believe that the only reason we're not all living in—
Yes, you are the aggrieved ones. You are the victims. Okay? You, conservative 12-year-old, are the victims, okay? I presume that's the average age of John Doyle's audience.
Imagined by John Lennon right now is basically because your heart is beating. But that aside, guilty on all counts, that's actually better for Trump because it helps his position that the whole thing was rigged from the start, which it was. Because if it were only half the counts, then it's like it implies that the jury was more measured than maybe they actually were. And we expected this to happen. This was the writing on the wall with everything that they've been doing. I heard a week or so ago from Trump world that this is the outcome they were expecting. Now everyone wants to stay optimistic, but as of right now, he's stronger, he's better, he's got more support than ever, and he's also free and he can get back to campaigning, which is very important because when people are around Trump or see footage of Trump, they love him. Like, he inspires that feeling in people. The only way that you can actually reliably get people to not like Trump is when you contain their exposure of him to—
I don't think that's true, guy. Like, I think you can pretty reliably get people to not like Trump when you point out, like, he doesn't pay his workers, when you point out that, like, you know, he was found liable for sexual assault, when you show that, like, hey, he bragged about sexually assaulting other people, or, you know, when you just play the things that he wants to do and explain to them, hey, this is what he actually is trying to do. Hey, you heard about that Project 2025 thing he's doing? Yeah, it's a pretty big load of bullshit, isn't it, huh?
To being like The View or CNN or whatever. So it's advantageous to keep him locked down in New York City so he can't make people literally flock to him wherever he goes, which is what happens. So there's going to be negative press, but, you know, who cares? Doesn't matter. It does not affect reality. And this is just the same lesson that has been taught to these people in varying degrees and iterations for the last 9 years, which is that you cannot stop this guy. I mean, anything that you do to this guy, you're just going to make him more motivated, more driven, more powerful. Like, there's nothing you can do. I mean, that's why the entire campaign has to be anti-Trump specifically.
Man, imagine standing this guy so hard. He's literally like, how old is he? Like 78? He's like 3 years younger than Biden, guy. Like, he's not Superman. He doesn't get his energy from the sun. He's not like thriving over here, okay? He can barely manage to like get on his own feet. Like, I don't know where you're getting this perception of him, my guy. Like, the memes are not him.
Because the entire Democrat coalition can only be sustained by putting aside all of their competing and in many cases just straight up incompatible interests and being reminded, hey guys, the real problem that brings us all together is white people and America, and therefore Donald Trump, because they view Donald Trump to be an avatar for an America that they've tried to destroy. And American patriots view him to be that as well, because he is. I mean, they're not wrong about that. And they're even willing to endure a lower standard of living for that outcome, as long as it destroys what is great and what is ours, because they're just resentful. Like, we're playing chicken with somebody who's driving under the influence. They're not going to swerve out of the way. They don't possess that instinct. And the leadership understands what's at stake with this election, and their behavior reflects that especially too. So we all need to understand that as well and make it our priority to unite behind Trump, support Trump, because they seem to understand something about him and his potential, which apparently a lot of us don't still. Remember, they're not even after Trump. They're after us, and he is just in the way. This is literally the case. You know, this squares so well.
Like, again, this is what I'm talking about, right? It's this need to double down, triple down, quadruple down on aggrievement. Like, oh yeah, they're not actually after Trump, they're after you. Yeah, you, average Republican man, they're after you. You just want to go home and spend time with your family, don't you? And they think you're sick and perverted for loving your kids and loving your God. Well, Donald Trump is the only thing standing between you and the barbarians at the door, okay? So then you need to have his back, all right? While he keeps them at bay, you need to have his back. And it's like, meanwhile, like, we're on the other side of the door and we're just like, I don't know, being gay and playing Magic the Gathering and, you know, talking about how it's really kind of bullshit that Firefly only got one season, and it really deserved, you know, like at least 3. You know, fucking Dark Matter got 3 seasons. You know, and Firefly only got 1. That's pretty bullshit. You know, and we're over here talking about that and, you know, enjoying our higher minimum wage and, you know, greater number of civil rights. And they're like, the barbarians are knocking down the door. It's like, no, we're having like, we're doing like our consensual kink parties on the other side. You know, like we're doing like normal stuff that we enjoy, like raising happy families, you know, whatever the fuck we want, as long as it's not hurting other people. And meanwhile, John Doyle's like, we need to lock down everyone, okay? No one should be allowed to do things that aren't straight, cis, and white. And like, meanwhile, we're like, why though? It's like, because you're scary.
Well, with everything I've been saying for years and what I've been thinking about, particularly in the last few months or so, which you would know if I had simply posted the content, I have just this year produced something like
I'd love to learn how to play Magic the Gathering.
I don't know why I do this to myself.
I'm just afraid that I would suddenly
no one is happy.
lose so much money buying cards.
Anyways, people need to know how correct I am about literally everything, and it's a crime that they don't.
Dark Matter's
they are legitimately
a good show.
worried about an imminent second Trump.
Okay, like, I didn't mean to besmirch the good name of Dark Matter. It's a good show. I like it. It's just no Firefly, okay? Nathan Fillion needs to be in more stuff, all right? It's kind of a crime, ironically, that he's been relegated to recurring roles on television cop shows for like the last 15 years. Dude has charisma coming out of like every orifice of his body, and instead of being a cool space captain like he should have been, he is being like relegated to cameos in Guardians of the Galaxy movies and, you know, 12 seasons of The Rookie. Why does The Rookie have that many seasons? It's a show called The Rookie. It was very clearly intended to only have like 2-3 seasons max. Why does The Rookie get like a decade of seasons? And Firefly only got 1. It's bullshit. Anyway, that's what the left is doing on the other side of the door.
Administration. Because if Trump could really be contained like he was in 2016, why would they go to these lengths? Wouldn't it be better to just let him win, restore faith in elections and democracy, and then just handicap his presidency? So I've been saying this for a while, that the question with Trump 2.0 isn't so much if they can stop him before he gets into office. It's, can they stop him after he gets back into office? And there are very promising things happening in Trump world. I mean, you're not going to have some Rolodex of GOP careerists, swamp types, etc., just waiting to, you know, tunnel their way into the administration, which certainly did not help in 2016. But until then, what do we win? Is it, you know, over for Democrats who are just going to go, you know, nuts and just do nothing until November? No, but we can't control the actions of others. We can only control our response to it. So now is the time to rally behind President Trump and support him. And I don't know if it's because people just have short attention spans or they're too young to remember, sort of hidden in plain sight kind of thing maybe. How they're treating this guy. They've thrown just shy of like 100 charges at this guy. And then last week, the jury verdict comes back in his New York trial, and we learn that he's guilty or whatever. I guess the campaign has raised like $200 million since then. Everywhere he goes, he's greeted like a king. So no matter what they do, it's not working, and people just love him more. But people are still pretty cynical on our side. I get it. A lot of them are just lying, but I understand the cynicism. there's no rule of law anymore. Some would say maybe there never was, but it's more like the law of rules, right? Which is that rules are made to be circumvented.
mean?
You know, if you want something, you figure out how to get it, figure out how to maneuver around the rules, because the knives are out. I mean, what's the next move? People have been trying to call that one for a while. Every grifter online was sharing articles like, man dies of virus. See, it's going to be a new plandemic. Every time some like random black criminal would get killed by police after producing a firearm. See, they're going to do another George Floyd. Relax. This is allowed to happen in 2020.
Oh yeah. Basically, he also thinks that he also thinks that like George Floyd was like a planned op by the left. Like, we artificially did a George Floyd. Again, people who watch folks like John Doyle are the dumbest people alive.
You know, the riots, all that. So that would be channeled against the incumbent president being Donald Trump. This is not allowed to happen now. You notice even fewer companies are displaying the pride stuff too. Like this month, they put out some advertisement on the day of.
Good. Gilbertus Maximus, that just shows that your empathy and soul are still intact, and your Nazi detector is working, which, you know, in this day and age is a very good thing to have.
Of one announcement, but it's not coding everything like it has been for the last few years. They're trying to minimize the capacity of their coalition to annoy normal Americans, at least for the next few months. This is beneficial to them. Whereas last time, I mean, yeah, we had the pandemic, mail-in ballots, censorship, but not this time. You know, it's too easy now to make fun of the masks. People understand everything that they did. It was all based on hysteria. And all, like, another one of those would...
You know, like, can we just do a quick thought experiment? What would John Doyle be saying if, like, I don't know, an army of Canadians came to America? You know what? Let's make it even more in his wheelhouse, okay? An army of foreigners came to America and butchered 1 million Americans. What do you think? What do you think John Doyle's response would be to that? Just given what, you know, if this is your first time seeing him, what do you think he would be saying? Do you think he'd be saying, like, yeah, everyone's overreacting to this? Why can't I rewind to the beginning of the video? You should be able to. I might have forgotten to check the box that allows you to do that. And if so, I'm sorry. I don't think there's a way for me to change it once the stream has started. What color are the foreigners? Unfortunately, a relevant question for him. John Doyle's still at it? Yeah, I think he's also doing like consulting on, like, you know, the most Nazi members of Congress's campaigns. You know, he's doing like the Nick Fuentes thing where he's getting paid obscene amounts of money by someone somewhere to consult on how to reach the Republican youngins, you know. Is there like a secret? I always like when they do the thing in video games where you can ride the windmill. Always fun, but I don't think you can do it here. Too bad.
Do is just put pressure on the incumbent president being Joe Biden, who when facing real...
Jack, it's been like 20 years. It's time to let Firefly go. The Expanse fills that void anyway, and got like 5 seasons. Plus a bunch of books and side stories.
True, it is time to let Firefly go. I understand. We're not getting another Firefly movie. We're not getting another Firefly season. I really wish we would, but it's not going to happen. I get it. That being said, I have yet to see The Expanse, but I've heard very good things and I intend on watching it soon. It's one of those things where, like, I naturally had an inclination to watch The Expanse, and then everyone told me how amazing it was, and now, like, part of my brain is just like, don't watch it, Jack. Don't do it. Because everyone told you to do it, and now, out of sheer stubbornness, you shouldn't do it. You shouldn't watch the popular thing. The Sopranos, you remember that. You never watched that. When everyone told you how good Breaking Bad was, did you cave? No, you didn't. But did you watch Better Call Saul despite not having the the context? You bet your damn ass I did. The hipster urge? Yeah, I know. I'm weak. I'm weak.
Election soon does not exactly want that to happen. Not even to mention that the economy's in the toilet. The pandemic was effective at taking the tremendous booming Trump economy and putting it into the toilet, but now it's already there. 2020 also was still like censorship territory. That was before Elon Musk managed to recapture Twitter, which quite honestly is where all the
How will John rationalize Trump's loss in November? I have to be 100% honest with you, okay? When Donald Trump loses, the right is either going to do one of two things, okay? Well, no, they're not going to do one of two things. They are going to fracture. They are going to freak the fuck out, especially if there is no, like, call to action that Trump is making, which I find difficult. Like, there's no way Donald Trump isn't going to say, like, it was rigged. It was rigged. He's going to, like, try and do a coup. I don't think it will succeed, of course, but, like, I don't see him taking it and being okay with a loss, you know? He's basically said as much. Like, he's not going to accept the outcome, right? Like, he's said that in interviews multiple times, and when people have asked him to clarify, he's dodged the question. Like, he's gonna do it again. They're gonna try and do bullshit with, like, certifying the election in different states. It's gonna be a absolute headache. But folks like John Doyle, I think, are going to be, like, essentially blaming it on the Jews. You know, like, they're going to talk about how the media forces are all aligned against them and, you know, like, on the take because they're an evil cabal of, like, pedophile, groomer, whatever. You know, like, they're going to throw every kind of smear they can. Also, Mr. Anderson, thank you for the 10 gifted memberships. Twitch chat, Riverboat chat, you guys gotta keep up. YouTube chat is doing all the heavy lifting today, my God. All of it. People are walking out of his rallies already. I have to be honest with you, okay? Republicans pay people to be at their rallies. It's kind of an open secret that Republicans rely on paid supporters to fill out their stadiums. But when you see, like, a bunch of people checking their watches and then all leaving at the same time, it's not because they're all in one big happy family, all right? It's because they were being paid by the hour to be there. And once the time is up that they have dedicated, that they have been paid for, they skedaddle because they do not want to be there. That Toro dude, thank you for the $5 dono on Riverboat side, getting things kicked off over there, I see. Thank you so goddamn much. Still not holding a candle to YouTube chat, though. Good God. The early bird special only lasts so long. True. Mr. Anderson, thank you so goddamn much.
The information flows down from in terms of politics and news. So for 20...
Do you think the Supreme Court will get involved? Oh, almost certainly. Yeah. But the thing is, you can, like, you can't adjudicate these issues in that amount of time, right? At least the Supreme Court usually doesn't adjudicate issues in, like, the time between, like, the election and inauguration day. Like, there's gonna be, like, a few months. Maybe they'll have, like, an emergency session or something, but, I gotta be honest. I don't see it going in Trump's favor. Like, I know he's stacked the courts, but I think, well, I'm not as worried about legal challenges to the presidency. Because I don't think that, I don't think the fascist takeover of America is done yet. You know, like, I think that there are enough citizens that actually care about America and will, like, turn up to uphold their oaths to office in the military. Like, I don't think they can complete a coup And I think if the Supreme Court were to rule that like the election was stolen or whatever, and that like Donald Trump was the rightful winner, I don't think people would really go along with it unless there was incredibly direct and real evidence of like, you know, Kamala Harris nefariously rigging the election. You know, I don't think that is on the table. Is Kamala the person who will certify the election? I guess, like as the vice president, and like, yeah, she would fill the role that Vice Pence did last time, which again is like 99% ceremonial. Like, to be clear, like it's not the theory that Republicans were using to try and justify like Mike Pence being able to like overturn the election or whatnot was like always bullshit. Like it's like a ceremonial position essentially. Yeah, Trump will say that she cheated no matter what. But I just want you all to know, like, I'm sure Kamala Harris and the entire Justice Department...
Take my land, take me where I cannot stand, I don't care. I'm still free, you can't take the sky from me, BWA.
KBS, thank you for the 2 tier 1 subs! Take my love, take my land, take me where I cannot stand. I don't care, I'm still free. You won't take the sky from me. Take me out to the black. Tell mama I ain't coming back. Burn the land and boil the sea. You won't take the sky from me. Beep boop. Ah! Why? Stop! Whomst! Oh, that I see that now. God damn it. One of the great theme songs? It actually was a great theme song, wasn't it? Are you signed up for my mail-in ballots since my back surgery makes it impossible for me to stand? Nice. Good job. Thanks for doing your due diligence to vote. I do have to say, I've never played this game with daggers. It's kind of fun. Wish we could have gotten a series. Yeah, like you know what? I bet you could get the cast back together to do like a... Like, imagine if you got, like... I don't know, the guy who did Cowboy Bebop to, like, do a Firefly anime. I'd watch the shit out of that. Give me 6 seasons and a movie of that. We could get the original cast back to do voice work. We could do it. And you know what? Like, again, it doesn't have to be the entire same cast. Like, they were doing a lot of adventures and illegal shit in that show. Whedon is too canceled. He doesn't have to direct it. He doesn't have to be involved. Also, I don't know, there are a lot of shitty dudes who continue to work. I'm just saying, like, Mel Gibson is still making movies, for God's sake. But, like, he doesn't have to be, like, we do not have to have Joss Whedon involved with an anime adaptation of Firefly, okay? I'd be in for that show. Yeah, get the... Trigger? No, that's not the studio that did Cowboy Bebop. Oh, God. I'm failing my nerd credentials right now. Mark Wahlberg is still making stuff? True. Mike Tyson is like a weirdly beloved figure, and he bit off a guy's ear. Studio Mappa, thank you.
2024, the lawfare against Trump was the plan. It was supposed to work. And not only has it not worked in the way that they would prefer it to, I mean, don't get me wrong, they're happy to lock him in a jail cell and throw away the key, but they did not anticipate that this would actually help Trump and make people angry at them. So is this like some big wake-up call for us? No, but you know, not everybody wakes up at the same time. Sometimes it takes some more effort. Sometimes it takes some more time. We've got some late bloomers out there. That's fine. You know,
Can I just say it's very funny that like the right has tried to make their own version of woke? Like it's real funny to me. Like they're trying to, I think they're trying to say I'm awakened rather than I'm woke. There we go. Well, this was also made like a month or two ago.
it was a good wake-up call for Americans who could get it and who could be useful.
We're watching this because, like, I want you all to know that even the right knows that this is kind of like their last chance. Like, if they fail here, they're not going to be able to attempt another takeover of American politics. Chris Huggy, thank you for the sub over on Twitch. And Jabertus, thank you for watching the last 3 streams. I appreciate it.
To us, but who just haven't gotten there yet for whatever reason. So you've got the lawfare, and then remember on the other end,
Again,
the primary campaign. He's literally fighting a multi-front war. He's got Ron DeSantis, who's getting
like they've come up with this term lawfare to describe being charged with crimes. You know, like, was O.J. Simpson the victim of lawfare? Was he the victim of lawfare too? What about I don't know. Was the Zodiac Killer a victim of lawfare? What about well, there are so many victims of lawfare, everybody. Too many to count, really. Every year, the American justice system victimizes ever more people with all kinds of lawfare.
Mike Tyson came out with weed gummies that were gummy ears, and I'm
Oh my
almost
God,
ashamed
what?
to say that made me laugh. Almost
Oh
dot.
my god! Oh my god! Oh, I hope the guy whose ear he bit off has a good sense of humor about it, because the amount of acceptance Mike Tyson has in pop culture is actually disturbing. Also, thank you for the $5 dono and that fact. Thank you. Was the Zodiac Killer ever caught? Yeah, we've confined him to politics now. His name is Ted Cruz.
propped up by the media. He's got a huge war
Also,
chest. Oh,
YouTube
this guy's
chat.
Trump, but effective.
Goddamn.
Nikki Haley, all these other people, the lawfare, the primary campaigns, the persecution of family, the media coverage. Surely one of these, I mean, one of these has got to stump the Trump, right? You fool. You miscalculated. You can't stump the Trump. Now you have to go to Gitmo. That's what happens. You know, you let your Patriot point balance slip into the red. You're deemed an enemy to the great American nation, and then Kane has to choke slam you out of a helicopter. I've seen it 1,000 times. These people just don't learn. But for us, it's been an incredible journey, and it's not over. I mean, you can black pill when you're dead. In the meantime, we are going to make America great again, because consider what's at stake otherwise. I mean, what's the alternative option for us? But people don't care. People don't want to consider that. They only want to consider themselves. And so, as usual, there's a lot of counter signaling against President Trump. Wow, very bold. I think this guy's based. I mean, attacking the greatest enemy of the regime, but for your special reason, dude, that's like really based in red pill. Hey, I mean, there's always a reason to counter signal Trump, right? There's always a reason to align yourself with the positions of the regime, you know, rationalize why afterwards. If you're at all counter signaling President Trump, you are my enemy. Do you understand the situation that we're in? Do you understand the lingering threat of amnesty? 4 years to let them all pour in, you know, just make them citizens by 2028, baby boomers dying off. We've lost 10.
Again, like, his main problem here is that we might grant the people already living here citizenship for, you know, living and working in our country alongside of us. You know, like, it's kind of crazy, right? Like, that's his big fear. His big fear is that, like, brown people might be treated like the same as him, you know, like, that's what we're dealing with when we're talking about folks like John Doyle and the people who follow him. It's really sick.
million. There goes our base. Now we'll have tens of millions of new Democrat voters, and then it's over. And it's really cute. Like, I get it. I find it endearing that you think withholding the vote from Republicans will make them finally take us seriously or whatever.
Also,
Republicans will never take us seriously if we protest by not voting. You misunderstand the purpose of the Republican Party.
I am woke,
The purpose of the
yoked,
Republican Party
stoked,
is
and
not to
vote.
represent us. It's to
Hell yeah, hot people vote. I keep telling you guys. All right? Hot people go to the polls. All right? You don't have to Pokemon go to the polls, but hot people do go to the polls.
contain us. But if we can fill that party infrastructure with people who do want to represent us, well, now that's an interesting scenario. That's an interesting outcome, because their objective is...
Wait, what do they expect? Trump to make white people fuck or something? Frankly, no. What they expect is that Trump will keep black and brown people out, and that will create more economic opportunity. This is their theory, okay? I don't agree with it. I'm just explaining it. Their theory is that more opportunity will, like, let me put it this way. Fewer people will raise the wages and thus provide more opportunity for the native-born white people, and they will make more money and therefore have more babies. And then, of course, conservatives like John Doyle will also advocate for strengthening the social safety net, but only for white people, only for native-born whites. You know, like, that's his priority. Like, he doesn't care about people. They want to reinstate segregation. Yeah, they don't want black and brown people to be treated like human beings, you know? They want dominion over those who are different than them. Have I heard of Stephanie Miller and the Sexy Liberals? Sexy Liberals vote? I have not heard of them. Though, you know what's sexier than a liberal? A socialist. It's true. It's true. I don't make the rules. If women want healthcare, they have to get married, but not that kind of healthcare. You know, not the kind of healthcare about their own genitals, okay? That's their husband owns that, all right? That's essentially what they believe. Okay, so I finally explored this little area, but I think I need to do some better exploring up here. Maybe I'll go like here, 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 and here. I think those are the 3 places I need to go. I like me a socialist cat girl. Yeah. Also, look, I need, now that more people are here, I fulfilled my promise. Okay? I fulfilled my promise. It's a cat suit. And I look fabulous. What fabric is it made of? Cheap kind. I need to get a latex cat suit, but this will do. Like this is good. Oh, mommy. It's not the kind of cat suit I was thinking of. I respect furries, but I'm not a furry. I'm sorry.
Not to win in the first place, but these people are spiritual leftists, and so they think, well, if the people can send a message by all uniting and using our voice, grow up. You're thinking like a
you think democracy works, you child? You understand that's democracy. That's been how our system has worked. And I bet his counter argument, if I had to take a stab at it, his counter argument would be something along the lines of democracy has never worked and it's not real. You've just been like propagandized into believing it's real. I think that would be his argument. But I feel like that's pretty ahistorical and relies on a complete rejection of any kind of fact-checking in order to be accepted. I'm just gonna throw that out there.
Child, you are thinking like a woman. We have a very, very temporary
Yeah,
window
he hates
where we could
democracy.
seriously make some
He's a
progress.
Nazi.
After that, things are going to become much more difficult. As it stands now, yeah, we're nowhere near out of the woods. That's true. But there's at least a clear path, like that's conceivably possible for us getting out of the woods, right? If we get another amnesty, that's the equivalent. Like we're seeing the tree line, and then we step on a bear trap, and then the bear trap has aids, and the instructions to disarm it aren't written in English, and then the trigger was also like a mechanism to play music out of a built-in Bluetooth speaker.
What? Also, yeah, I do like that he is so worried about losing the election that he's having to come up with this elaborate death trap to really try and hammer home exactly. Oh God. Oh, actually, this is good. I'm gonna get a larval tier. A larval tier. I'll be able to, come on. Be able to respec. There we go. Yay. All right, cool.
And now it's alerting other animals of our presidents, and then they're going to come and kill us and eat us. But hey, you know, I get it. You know, there's
Like, yeah, basically, he's having to come up with this because he's like trying to convey to his dipshit audience that they're kind of boned if they don't win in 2024, and I'm a fan of that. I'm a fan of how worried he is about winning this election.
There's always a reason to grift. Oh, Trump promoted the vaccine. Trump is a Zionist. The first one is old news. We've covered that 100 times. The second one is also old news, but it's coming back in the wake of everything that's been going on between Israel and Palestine, because people are finding out about Zionism now for the first time, so it's the only toy they want to play with. And the thinking is basically that Trump is now a Zionist, therefore he won't put America first because the interests of Israel will come before the interests of the United States, and so we have to not vote for Trump because we deserve candidates who will prioritize America.
They also hate Jews. Like they're upset about Trump being a Zionist because a lot of the Republican Party is anti-Semitic.
The problem with this is that Trump's position on this has been the same since 2015, and if anything, he's actually become less sympathetic to Israel and especially to Netanyahu, but it's a model for political change that is just incompatible with what Trump was actually able to accomplish in his first administration. Like ignoring the tremendous economy that he sustained and the way that he single-handedly redefined our entire political processes, he also halved legal immigration. He decreased the illegal invasion.
Okay,
he didn't
wait.
start any new foreign conflict.
Can anyone answer, just out of curiosity, was there any event that happened during Trump's presidency that might have, I don't know, decreased the amount of immigration that happened? Anyone think of any event that might have greatly decreased the amount of people trying to come here? Just throw them out. COVID! Oh yeah, a global pandemic that killed millions. Yeah, that one.
But what, he like relocated an embassy and took a picture at a wall, so you're describing him as equal to George Bush? Maybe the problem is more about execution. You know, Trump's entire agenda could have been carried out through executive action, you know, like every other president, most of whom had mechanically functional administrations. And as much as I love Trump,
and there's no way to change
talk to our guys who worked on the transition team. When it came time to make hires and Reince Priebus had a Rolodex of names, being chair of the RNC, that certainly didn't help the president, right? Like, these are personnel issues, and they have largely been accounted for and resolved. But okay, let's look back to 2016. It's all just repeating itself, but I'll entertain it. I've got a soft spot for you. In 2016, Trump was meeting with Netanyahu. He was speaking at AIPAC. He was getting $20 million from Sheldon Adelson. But now I have to hear that in 2024, Trump is a Zionist. Okay, so what changed? He's only gotten better on the issues. He's only improved his ability to execute on the issues for the American public. So if Trump's always been a Zionist, He gets away with calling himself the most pro-Israel president ever, just like no one has more respect for women than him. He's the least racist person we've ever met. When he got $20 million from Sheldon Adelson in 2016, now his widow wants to give even more of his money away to Trump, and suddenly that's a problem. At what dollar amount did that become a problem? What actually changed? The grift changed. I mean, it's really that simple. Oh, well, for the money, she might want Israel to annex the West Bank because that's what she said in an interview with New York Magazine one time, along with every other Zionist who has ever at any point given money to an American politician. And we know this is true. This is the quid pro quo that's going down because an Israeli leftist...
Here's the thing. John Doyle has his eyes on the prize, okay? He is a Nazi. He just doesn't care where power comes from, you know? Like, he doesn't care if, like... Donald Trump is getting money from Jewish people. He doesn't care about that. What he cares about is Donald Trump being able to seize dictatorial power in America. That is his entire goal. That is the purpose of him doing his show here and why he's talking about this. And basically, he's telling his audience here, hey, stop caring so much about where the money's coming from, stupid, because we need to take power, and now's the only time we can do it. Like, that's... In a nutshell, that's it.
This publication published an op-ed about it. I'm a very smart person. These are things that I can trust. Damn, $100 million sold. Who cares? I thought it was going to be something like, but tone down the fire every libtard rhetoric. Tone down the mass deportation rhetoric. But we simply don't concern ourselves with other conflicts in other countries for $100 million. Sounds good to this patriot. You know who else wants that to happen? Every Zionist and every Israeli, which is why there's like 1 million of them that have been there since 1967. Sorry, how does that matter to us? I don't really care about Israel. I don't really care about Palestine. And this is also cynical, too, because if we were actually serious, we would be forcing the pro-Palestine issue as much as possible in leftist circles, especially at the expense of the current thing. What do you mean trans this, BLM that? There are literally children dying in Gaza right now.
Yeah. See, like, he is a guy focused on taking power at all costs, you know? Like, he doesn't care. He doesn't care about this issue as long as he can use it to further the in furtherance of the dictatorial takeover. That's it.
That
like he's explaining to you exactly what every Nazi and white supremacist is currently doing on social media right now. Okay? Every like far right racist asshole right now is using Gaza cynically to try and mainstream Nazi talking points. It's why you might have noticed that there are some phrases from the Nazi and white supremacist circle and spheres that are starting to make their way into leftist circles. And it's very irritating to me, and that's why I've repeatedly told you all to be on guard about this kind of thing. All right? And it's because they're going to use that, and they're going to try and normalize Nazi rhetoric. They're going to try and normalize Nazi terminology. So basically, they can further their infiltration into your movements and try and radicalize people to their point of view. The stream ended on YouTube for a few seconds. Yeah, it dropped 360 frames. But it looks like it's totally fine.
Like we said, it can be sustained if they're able to hold everything together, keep reminding everybody that the real enemy is Trump, America, husky white boys, etc. But by putting pressure on them, creating those divides, that could be very good for us. Moreover, we could be pushing back on actual neocons who are wrestling to maintain control of the party infrastructure. Hey, why didn't...
Damn, it's so crazy how he wants to push back on neoconservatives. One of the farthest right political groups in mainstream discourse. It's almost like he's farther right than what is currently far right in mainstream discourse. There's only like a couple of things that could make him like a Nazi, Not being hyperbolic, I'm just calling him calling him what he is.
Didn't you care when Antifa were terrorizing white kids at college?
Yep.
Why did you not care about our ability to get to class and practice free speech? Why is it only when it's about Israel that you step in? I don't know if you've noticed this about leftists. They are extraordinarily neurotic people. It does not take much to get them to start eating each other, for rich donors to withhold money, whatever. The point being, if we wanted to be very effective and seize on these serious opportunities, we could be doing that right now with the Israel-Palestine conflict. That would make it harder for Democrats to stay in power, easier for our guys to get into power. But instead, people are only using it to attack Trump. Very interesting. The good news is that it doesn't matter if these people were relevant. You know, they wouldn't need to be eternally contrarian, sort of the nature of being in the ghetto. The reality of our situation is that Donald Trump has had these positions on Israel for the last 10 years. Therefore, now in 2024, we can't support him. Okay, well, in 2016, his administration was incompetently staffed. Despite this, he still manages to significantly break free from the party orthodoxies on immigration and on foreign policy. He's improved drastically on the issues as a whole since then. He's preparing now to staff his administration with loyalists and also to fire every bureaucrat who is insufficiently loyal to his agenda, the Schedule F stuff, etc. But we're being told, well, this actually doesn't imply a better outcome for us for a second Trump administration. If you believe this, you're just like not gonna make it. I'm sorry this is all happening to you. It must be really confusing. For what it's worth, if I had it my way, you never would have been burdened by literacy in the first place. By the way, this is the same strategy that was run in 2015. None of this is new.
Like, he doesn't
you
even
alienate
want
the
you to be
evangelical Christians,
literate,
who are Trump's
guys.
most reliable voting demographic, who he needs to win
Like, he
by
finds it
attacking Trump for being
inconvenient that you have
insufficiently
learned
socially
things
conservative.
to oppose
That was the
him.
stuff you saw a month or
Like,
so
that's the
ago,
degree
where all
to
of a
which
sudden all
he,
these pro-life activists and talking heads are coming out and attacking Trump for not taking a position which they themselves never took prior to Trump having facilitated the overturning of Roe v. Wade, which is a support for a federal abortion ban. But suddenly Trump is now the problem because he won't endorse that. And we're now directing that pressure towards Trump instead of towards red state governors who have the power to do that right now, that same thing. Very interesting. Same thing, putting pressure on Trump to take a position on Zionism that would offend evangelical Christians who, as I'm sure you know, are largely Zionists themselves, or that would offend the sensitivities of the rich Jewish donors who are now flocking to throw money at Trump because they're startled by all the sentiment that's been coming from the left in the last few months, and these people would prefer that that money stays in the hands of the left, or at the very least, doesn't end up in the hands of the Trump campaign? These people are all grifting. Oh, Trump is so controlled! Yet despite that, he halved illegal immigration, 50%.
I will give this to John Doyle. I don't think John Doyle's a grifter. I think he genuinely believes all of this insane right-wing nonsense that he constantly spews, this garbage derived from the likes of Goebbels. Like, I think he's genuinely a true believer. He's not faking it for attention. But, yeah, pretty evil guy.
Decrease, and he didn't start any new wars in the Middle East.
He's an honest-to-God
interesting.
Nazi, yep.
He calls out Netanyahu publicly for betraying him after 2020, says he made a huge mistake that he's not going to forget. Very interesting. Acknowledges that Israel's losing the PR war, says whatever's going on in Palestine, it's got to wrap up, it's got to stop, he's going to stop it. Interesting. You know, this guy seems like he's in total lockstep with the whole Glass Iran crowd, which must be why all of those people were working overtime to stop him from becoming the nominee by propping up Ron DeSantis, Nikki Haley, all these other characters. Joe Biden is a Zionist. Look at his coalition. Look at what they've done to our country in just a few years. So why?
Also, can I just say that, like, you might think, whoa, this guy doesn't want to bomb Iran? Oh, he absolutely does want to bomb Iran. He absolutely despises people from other countries and thinks that America should take over essentially the whole world. But he believes in consolidating power first. You know, it's very similar. Like, the Nazis were like, hey, we're going to be isolationists. We're not going to get involved in these other wars. But it's just a ploy to take power. And then they need to direct the death cult outward because that's the only way they can sustain themselves. Yeah, exactly, O.S. Crane.
Why are these people only attacking Trump when he's not even the one in office right now? Seems like that would be helpful to the Biden campaign. Very interesting, because remember, that's the only thing that can sustain the Democrat coalition, pointing at that avatar of American identity and saying,
Okay, real quick.
that's the only thing that can
I do like Melania's dress here. I do like her outfits. Does that make me a bad person? Like, that's a cool coat. I like the coat and the matching gloves. Like, exquisite, impeccable. And frankly, Godspeed, Queen. Godspeed, okay? Because I know that she's been putting up with all sorts of shit for like the last 10 years. Because she's got her eye on that bag, okay? Godspeed, Queen. Godspeed. Can't happen soon enough.
Sustain the Democrat coalition, pointing at that avatar of American identity and saying, hey, focus on him. He's the evil bad guy, remember? Whereas Trump is
Gotta
saying,
respect the
attention,
hustle.
patriots,
Yeah.
I'm going to expel every libtard
Lovely
from the government
Litvinax.
and
I'm
conduct
glad.
the
Thank
largest deportation operation in American and possibly all of human history. But Trump's a Zionist. What does that mean? Explain that to me in your own words. I want to know what you think that means. I don't want to see some f***ing 4chan graphic from 2015 that my friends and I probably made in the first place. I want you to tell me. I want you to tell me what that means. You should honestly just drink gasoline at this point. Like, just commit to being a retard. Become who you are. Manifest destiny. Because clearly, I mean, you're just like torturing yourself with this sort of uncanny valley right now. Just commit to it. Go all the way there. After everything he's gone through in the last 10 years, he's now a convicted felon, and you won't give President Trump the benefit of the doubt. He hasn't earned that from you yet. He hasn't met your standard. But you gave it to what, the Free Palestine protesters who hate white people and who hate Israel because they think it practices white supremacy, because you thought that they could be red-pilled, that you could reach them as if the vector of their resentment could be directed anywhere but towards you. Yeah, drink up. $2.89 a gallon this morning. If you're counter-signaling Trump, you are my enemy. That's the line that's being drawn. Are you a loyal MAGA patriot or are you not? Recognize the stakes. There's no other option. We don't have time, as we discussed at the beginning. And ironically, Donald Trump is the only person presently speaking about how we could actually get more time, so to speak. And if not for him, do you think anybody else would be talking that way? He's talking about the largest mass deportation operation in the country's history. No. And nobody's completely...
Like, I need you all to take a moment to really grapple with how pathetically hard he's getting over the idea of ethnically cleansing America. Who's the soy boy on screen? This is John Doyle. He's a Nazi, and he's one of those really, really deep in the Nazi sauce kind of guys. Yeah, he's a big ol' incel Nazi white supremacist, you know? And we're watching this video because he's basically doing this 40-minute long video as a gigantic cope over how, hey, we really need to make sure Donald Trump wins, otherwise we won't be able to do all these horrible atrocities that we want to do.
Completely beyond criticism. You may remember I was criticizing Trump in 2020 because he was doing things that were actively harming his chances of being reelected. He was being soft on the rioters. He said he was monitoring the situation. He balked on the National Guard, and that rightfully pissed off the base. And resultantly, fortification aside, we saw that his turnout was lower among key demographics. That's the cost of pandering, you know, when your chic advisors tell you to do so. That's a lesson he's now learned. But I was accused of grifting. I was accused of betraying the president for this. And there's always been grifts, such as the nature of politics. There's a lot of them right now. I think about how on Friday morning, Trump was sitting at the top of his skyscraper overlooking Central Park in his golden living room. He was drinking a Diet Coke, getting a taste of his old life.
Yeah, you sit there and you, like, create fan fiction in your brain about this guy. Like, it's deeply weird, dude. Like, why? Why are you sitting there, like, using your free time to think about, like, this absolute ghoul? Why? You could be thinking about all kinds of other things. Like, you didn't have to be thinking about that.
life back. You know, before all this, he was doing he was golfing all the time, supermodel wife, friends with everybody cool. He sacrificed that lifestyle for this country. Any one of his critics right now would sell this country out for a whiff of that lifestyle. I know many of them personally. That is who they are. They don't actually care about any of this except for as a means to benefit themselves. I mean, what would they do if not for this? Like, this is all that they can do. And that's always been the thing too, right? Like, they don't want to throw their reputation behind somebody. They're only focused on themselves. They want to be contrarian. They want to have their own little take or whatever. It's like, you're a coward. You have no spine. And no one, by the way, who's ever gone against Trump has survived. So thank you. You're now infected. You've got the curse. You've got the Trump curse, and you've got 7 months. We say bye-bye. And yeah, you know, we're not going to know how this all turns out until it's done. Fair enough. But we're talking about mass deportations, anti-white racism, all these things not as just like accessories, but as crucial, as central to the campaign and to the administration. Like, wake up and smell the roses. I said this on Twitter the other day. It is now illegal to counter-signal President Trump from this moment forward. If you do this, then we are going to do things to you that have never been done before. You need to recognize the stakes. You need to stop lying. It's not hard at all to define what improving the situation means.
What a good joke he made there about doing things that have never been done before. Like, bro, what kinds of things? Like, why are you using, like, weirdly sexual language? And I feel like if I asked him that in person, he'd be like, you know why. You know, because Nazis communicate via innuendo that leaves them plausible deniability. Like, that's, like, the entire cowardice of the Nazi movement is to do that. I hate him? Good! That means your mind, your heart are working.
What a perfect society would look like, that's a separate discussion. But we know that right now...
What does illegal to counter-signal mean in this context? It means oppose Donald Trump. Full stop. Like, that's what it means. It means it is now unacceptable to oppose him. There you go. That is what that means. Like, it's so straightforward, you're kind of like, are you sure that's what... No, that's exactly what it means, yeah.
Now, improving the situation means electing Donald Trump. Things have gotten much worse since Trump left office. They will be better once Trump is back in office. And it's not just that we will improve the immediate situation, but more importantly, we create opportunities for ourselves to further improve things which we otherwise would not have. This is our only lily pad right now. There's no other option. And funny enough, everyone complaining about Trump won't even deny that. People are addicted to blackpilling though, which is a cope. But you know, there's always something that can be done. But it's been over since 2020, just like it was over since 2008, just like it was over since 1965 and since 1945 and since 1913 and since 1865 and 1789 and 1517, since 1453. You can play this game all day. It's a lot easier than figuring out a solution to the problems. I'll let you in on some good news though. There's no omnipotent force.
Hey, I'll let you in on a secret. You want to know what his solution to like all of society's problems? Do you want to know what he thinks should be done? Ethno-states, baby. Like, that's all he wants. He wants ethno-states. He thinks that a, you know, white nation, or maybe to be more accurate, an Anglo-Saxon nation, would be, you know, the thing that would make everything work. He literally thinks that if you had a nation of Anglo-Saxons, they would essentially be supermen. Ubermensch, even.
Force that decides our destiny for us, other than God.
Absolutely.
When we
disgusting.
say if God is for us, then who can be against us? That doesn't mean like, yeah, how could you align yourself against God? That's kind of problematic. No, it means no one can stand against us. They might agitate and demoralize and humiliate.
I guarantee you a strong left hook could stand pretty well against his chin, okay? I don't know. I'm just speculating.
Cares? Who cares? Ultimately, there's nothing they can do. There has been no greater force for Christianity in the world than Western civilization. There has been no greater force in the world for history than Western civilization. When we decide that it's time for things to change, that is when they change. That is the way the world works. The American nation has been blessed with providence. We tamed a continent that was plagued with mass occult sacrifice and Mesoamerican corn demons, and we brought Christianity.
Yeah, you know, that's him talking about how actually it was a good thing that we genocided the Native Americans because we improved their lives. by, you know, doing the genocide. You know, because he's evil. In case you guys didn't get the memo, he's evil. He's an evil scumbag who is, in fact, an existential threat to, like... Let me put it this way. His ideology is an existential threat to all of us. Like, he advocates for us to die. That's his whole thing. He's a fascist. But, like, a fascist from, like, the Nazi school.
God wills the success of the American nation. Don't overthink it. The incalculables are too great to know. There are more of them than you could ever imagine, let alone account for. Many times throughout history, people have been able to successfully reverse their circumstances by just absurd chance, just some opportunity presenting itself out of nowhere. And that doesn't expire. That's not something that can't happen anymore. That can easily happen. So in terms of our success, in terms of making enough progress to see some results in our lifetime, that could take 50 years or it could take 5 years. There's no way of knowing. But if you tell yourself, well, it's going to take 5 years, you've got a better chance of it being closer to that than 50. I mean, just look at where we were 10 years ago, just purely from a cultural standpoint. Look at now how much people are forced to just go along with because the left has been so successful. Now imagine that, except it's us making...
He's talking about trans people. He's talking about, look at how they, the broader society, have allowed trans people to exist publicly. He's talking about me right here. And a decent number of all of you, let's be fair. This guy is disgusting. And I do want to reiterate that he intros most of his videos by kissing his sister.
Making America great again.
Or rather,
wow,
having his
15
sister
million
kiss
people
him.
just entered the country in the last 3 years.
It's
Damn,
weird.
that's crazy. Bet if we put a bunch of our guys on it, we could send them all back, like, in half that time. We could send twice as back in the same time. It's literally just moving people around. They do that themselves already. I mean, how hard could it be? You ever play Puffle Roundup? Like, surely the mechanics can be translated, right? The bottom line is that people should not attack Trump because we need Trump to win. That's it. I know everyone wants to have their little take. I know, you know, it's your turn to hold the take stick. Oh, go on. We all think you're really interesting. All that matters is who takes power in 2025.
It's me.
Is it
I
Donald
have the
Trump
take
or is it
stick.
not? That's literally the only thing that matters right now. And here's the good news. When Trump's base is energized,
Was that his sister? Yep.
we win. In 2020, there wasn't really energy. You know, people were demoralized for various reasons, sort of a sign of the times. I was called a grifter for pointing those things out. Oh, well, was there energy in 20? I mean, I was energized. I was having a good time in 2020. Was it like 2016?
Did he just reference
No.
Club Penguin?
Was it even close?
Yeah, this guy's like 25, 24. Like, he's a baddie.
And will this be even close? No, but it can be sufficient, right? Like nothing will ever be like 2016 because the circumstances of that will just never come back, which is good. We're making progress. We don't necessarily want the circumstances to go back to how they were. It's like you'll never play another game of kickball with the kids in your neighborhood, right? You know, as time passes, things happen. It can never be recreated. You'd have to
Like, I feel like to an extent here he's telling on himself, right? Like, yeah, you can never go back. You can't. The kids in your neighborhoods are adults now. They pay taxes. You can never go back. And like, it'd be pathetic if his way of dealing with that realization wasn't embracing Nazism. You know, like, you might be able to like cut him some slack, but like, it's just Nazi shit.
force it, and even then it wouldn't be the same. That's fine. Things change. Time passes. We're here now. These are our circumstances, and they're different. But things are looking very good for us right now. Plus,
fuckhead,
we're up
he's
with all
evil
these fancy
John.
new demographics. You know, we don't even need them necessarily to win, but we happen to be getting them anyway, and that's good. That's what happens when you don't pander and corrupt the integrity of your and coherence of your campaign. You know, people will flock to it that way, I think. Not by majority, but a decent amount. This is also a good opportunity to wake our guys up. Being a normie, like being anything, exists with
Yeah,
a
we
sort
gotta-
of
we gotta
distribution,
awaken
right? Most
our
people
guys.
will never wake up. Some people, it takes a little push. Some people, a bigger push. The point is that every 4 years, we do have a sort of window of opportunity to get all of our guys to wake up. Guys of all ages, and this time especially, we'll say it.
Again, because his audience is guys. You know, he doesn't care about women. Women are gross. He isn't in. He does in fact. I believe he calls himself an incel. Actually, this is the nasty shit. It really is. We're in the muck.
It's a good opportunity for those to wake up who have been distracted by looting the empire. You know, guys too focused on making something of themselves, being successful. Cringe. You need to be on Twitter 12 hours a day. You need to be on your phone all day like me, you f***ing slave. But I mean, like, can you fault them? Like, think about it. You grow up in America, you don't know any better. Yeah, you're going to want to get out and hit the ground running. Secure your fortune,
Hey,
right? The
let's
party
go,
never
Lois
ends.
Crane.
But when you realize sort of what's going on, what these people are doing to your country, a country that you love, a country that has afforded you and your family.
Yeah, what are all the immigrants doing in our country? What are they doing to our country, John? Are they working for less than minimum wage, John? Are they, like, enriching our country beyond, like, all reckoning? Like, what? What exact... Like, these are things conservatives tend to be really excited about, but you're like, no, actually, it's bad that they want to come here and work and live because they're making too many brown people and not enough white people. Like, you're broken, man. You're broken.
Family was so much. Well, now things
just-
are a little bit different. Now
Like, the people coming here, they just want to raise families. And you know what? I bet their kids want to play kickball in the neighborhood. You know, like I bet that is the case. You know, they want to be able to raise a family and work and live the same as you or I, all right? And you begrudge them that. You think it's actually bad and evil for them to want to come here and work and contribute. Oh, God.
it's a different dynamic. Now people are going to emerge sort of
Yeah,
from
this is kind of like an I consent, I don't. You know? Like John Doyle just over here, like, hating minorities like it's a sport.
from the woodwork, increasingly so, as they've already done. I mean, that's basically what happened with Donald Trump, right? That's what's going to happen with the young men attending college when they can't get jobs, but their enriched classmates can. That's the mass frat boy awakening that we might discuss soon. The true natural conservatives, our true greatest ally, the frat boys. And it is a chilling dynamic, though, when you think about it. Like, oh, they crossed the Rubicon. That was crossed long ago. We're way beyond that. Donald Trump has to drain the swamp, or else he will literally die trying. He has to blow a hole in the dam. They want to put him in prison. They want him to die in prison. They want.
Oh no, worshiper of Olympians. There's like a good 80% chance that this guy, on the regular, jacks it to transport. There's a decent chance. Okay. Oh God. There we go. And I say that because he's literally made a documentary about how porn is evil, and I don't think I've ever seen someone go to those lengths who doesn't regularly, like, just work that thing, you know?
To go after his family. Remember, he could have cut, by the way, a deal with these people at any point. They'd have left him alone if he just agreed to simply retire from politics, but now it's too late.
Why didn't Donald Trump drain the swamp 4 years ago? You know why. It's because they didn't want him to. All right.
To send a message. Trump couldn't do it. Look what we did to him. Shut up and know your place. We're in charge. So there's no longer a separation between his personal destiny and his political destiny. Maybe there never was, but it's definitely off the table now. If Trump succeeds personally, he will have succeeded politically. If he can pull this off, he will be the greatest American probably since George Washington. I implore you, yet again, consider the stakes. This is Trump's last election. We know that. We're not getting another Donald Trump anytime soon. This is like a once-in-a-lifetime kind of figure. But if Trump can do a good enough job, then we'll be in a pretty good position to navigate things from there. And Democrats know this. Democrats understand that if what has to happen happens, they're going to be prosecuted just like Trump was. I mean, these people will go to prison. So just as Trump's political interests have now become personal, theirs also have become interwoven with each other. You know, the Democrats, it's the same thing, the deep state, whatever. They understand what's on the line. Things have gone too far. They cannot continue this way. There's no going back. I mean, hey, you wanted to live in interesting times.
Again, like they can't win. It like if they lose this time around, they cannot win again. And that is what John Doyle is trying to tell you. You know, it's kind of beautiful actually. Like the amount of despair that he feels, you know, like it's I personally would watch this video. As disgusting as John Doyle is, I take a lot of hope from this video because basically his argument is, guys, we gotta do it now, otherwise the libs are gonna own us. And he's right. He's right about that core bit of the argument. And I think that's pretty wonderful. The despair and desperation of, you know, Nazis is good. I think they should feel more of that.
Right? This is what she asked for. Things just had to happen. The knives are out. So the question is just what's going to happen next. I know what happens next. I know what happens next. We make America great again. It's all there in the Constitution. Have you read it? It's everything we need to do. It's right there. It's on the books. Talk about the rule of law. Nobody's a bigger fan of the rule of law than me. Nobody cherishes the rule of law like I do, but that's the kicker.
No, you don't. If you cherished the rule of law, you would care that the guy you're supporting has been convicted of 34 felonies, dude. Like, if you cared, there's a pretty easy way to demonstrate that.
Right? It's all there. It's all on the books.
Still yammering.
We just
We're
need somebody
done.
with the willpower to do what needs to be done. We've been playing chicken for decades with a drunk driver. You know, always swerving, always cucking, right? What are you, crazy? You're going to hit somebody. True. Yeah, they are. So the only way through is forward, because otherwise your opportunity to swerve out of the way aren't even going to exist anymore. Your steering wheel, it will lock up on you since you didn't pay your subscription for it or something. You've exhausted your mileage limit, right? And then it's just over for you. And you know, we don't like that. We don't want it to be over for you. We don't like losers. We like winners. We like winners. We like loyal and real MAGA patriots. So simply choose to be that. Hey guys, if you like this video, leave it a thumbs up.
What an actual, like, weird little guy. What an actual sad little man. You know? All I want you to take from that is that John Doyle and Nazis in general, I think we can use him as kind of a cipher for the far right. They are well aware that it's kind of do or die time. And I suggest all of you who are not, you know, Nazis, you know, all of you, should take that to heart and make sure that you give this election 110%. You know, do the thing you do best in service of this campaign, because frankly, if Kamala Harris doesn't win, it's going to be Donald Trump. It's going to be this guy's champion. And I think we should avoid that by any and all means. I do not think it serves any person on the planet. It is not on any person's best interest on this earth for Donald Trump to be president.